Today we're going to learn how to make an invisible zipper. An invisible zipper is used in a lot of ready-to-wear clothing and skirts and in dresses. What's great about an invisible zipper is the only thing you see at the top is the pull tab. The pull tab you want to match to your clothing as much as possible. If you really can't, then buy nail polish and cover the top of it with nail polish. The things I'll need for this project are an invisible zipper foot and a narrow zipper foot. Our machine comes with an invisible zipper foot, but if you can't find one, then you can get a generic one that adapts to most machines. So what I'm going to do first of all is take my regular zipper foot, stick it in the sewing machine for later, and put on my invisible zipper foot. The next thing that I need to do is make sure that I have finished the raw edges of my fabric, because it's going to be a lot easier to sew later on. When it comes to the zipper, you want to think about the right side and the wrong side of a zipper. So the right side is where the pull tab is, that's where you pull down. These edges here are the raw edges, and the part in the center is the finished edge. So if I open up the zipper, you get a better idea that that is the finished edge, and then this edge here is that edge is the raw edge, and this edge is the finished edge. So just like when you're sewing, you always want to put right sides together, raw edge to raw edge. So here's the right side of my fabric. I'm going to place it right sides together and pin it. Now a zipper tape is generally 1.5 centimeters wide, so as long as you match it up generally to the raw edge of your fabric, you're doing fine. And the top of a zipper tape is generally 1.5 centimeters high, or from the edge. So as long as I match up the raw edges, when I sew my next seam, which will be 1.5 centimeters at the top, they will match up, so I don't have to worry about matching those. There we go. And put some pins in here to hold here. You'll notice that I'm starting this before sewing the seam, and that's actually a preferable way to sew it. That means that if I am putting an invisible zipper in a project where the instructions call for a regular zipper, you have to stop at the spot where it would say sew the seam and put in your invisible zipper. You also want to make sure you finish the raw edge ahead of time. So now I'm going to set my sewing machine up, and I'm setting it for a regular stitch with a regular stitch length of 2.5 to 3. And I'm going to sew my seam. Let's get this seam out of the way. And what I want to do is sew right in the well of the seam. So if I go in really close, you can see where my fingernail is, right in the well of the seam. Okay. This machine has a really good invisible foot to do that. So just like a regular seam, I'm going to sew forwards and backwards for about 3 to 5 stitches. Because the stop's in the way, so I just back stitch and remove the seam. And you can tell that you have sewn it properly if you can take your zipper and zip it all the way up to the top, and it zips without a problem. Sometimes your stitches can get stuck in a few of the teeth, so if it doesn't pull all the way up, that's why. So now I'm going to take the other side and do the same thing. So right sides together. I have the right side of my zipper facing up. The right side of my fabric is now against the right side of my zipper, and I'm just going to flip it around so it's a little easier to work with. There we go. And same thing. Put some pins in. Now in this case, you're going to be sewing on the other side of your garment. Traditionally, when we sew, we have the left side, or the bulk of the fabric, to the left of the machine. This time the bulk of the fabric is going to be to the right of the machine. And for some people that can be a little difficult to work with, but you'll get used to it. There we go. And another pin down here. And then just like before, 3 to 5 stitches, back stitch, okay, a little key is it might help with the threads in your needle. There we go. So because of that, I'm just gonna back stitch and continue along. I'm stopped by the end of my zipper. And to make sure you have sewn it right, just take your pull tab, pull the way up, and you can see on mine because my fabric doesn't match, there's a lot of pink showing. However, if I were to go back and just press this with the iron, that wouldn't show. That would actually not really show. Plus I've used pink, which really does show up. If you're more concerned about it really not showing, you can go back. If I go really close, I can go back and try to sew in even more closely if I want to along the side. But for this purpose, you'll just get a general idea of how we're sewing it. The next thing I want to do is remove my invisible zipper and put on my regular narrow zipper foot. And I can close my zipper all the way up if I want to. There we go. And what I need to do is sew the bottom part of this seam. So to do that, what I do is I pull my zipper out of the way and I look very carefully, and I'm just going to do it with this side so you can see what's happening. I want to sew as close as I can to where my stitching originated. You're not going to get it perfectly, but you are going to get it fairly close. So I pull my zipper tape out of the way so I don't accidentally sew it. You can put some pins if you want to, but just because I want to get this done, I'm not going to. There we go. And I'm going to try to get in really close so that you can, as much as possible, see where I'm sewing. And I'm going to move this guy. There we go. So you're not going to sew exactly on it. You can't, but you can sew fairly close. And what you'll find is once we start sewing, oh look, I'm at the 1.5 line. Because remember that the zipper tape is designed to be about 1.5 centimeters. And then once I have done this, you will notice that I have a regular full seam. There's at the bottom, and again, if I just press that with my iron, you wouldn't see anything except for the zipper tape at the top. Now what you can do, and what I suggest you do, is you then go back and you can see these parts that are sort of flapping in the breeze. Then what I do is I hold on to my seam allowance and that side of the zipper, and I'm just going to sew those two together. So that means I'd have to change my presser foot again, but that's okay. I'm just going to change it to the other side. There we go. And just using a regular stitch to sew about 4 or 5 stitches on one side, and then 4 or 5 stitches on the other. And again, I've sewn them just to the zipper tape. I haven't sewn them to the back of the zipper, because if I sewed it to the fabric, then it would show. And what that does is that just helps to anchor down your fabric, so when you're zipping and unzipping, it's a little easier to work. So here is how to sew an invisible zipper. It's not as difficult as you think. A lot of people think, ooh, an invisible zipper is really hard, but it's actually not. As long as you remember, right sides together, raw edge to raw edge, you're good to go.